What is up, everybody? Hello, welcome to Tinfoil Hat Tuesday. That's pretty funny, isn't it? Tinfoil Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Holy shit! I don't even know what planet I'm on right now.
I think it's Tuesday. I checked. Hi guys, I'm down in the dumps today, but I'm going to be here listening. I may not talk a whole bunch, but I'm going to be here in spirit. I promise.
Yeah, so send Rebecca some healing vibes, bro, because she's not feeling good.
For real, my dudes. I don't handle this shit well.
Well, we hope you get to feeling better, and hopefully we can make you laugh tonight, Rebecca, because that makes it all
that'd be great.
So I'm not doing my normal 30-minute long random music playing because it looks like we actually maybe got out into the system a little bit and people are showing up, so I'm going to keep everybody waiting. But we are going to bullshit around for just a little bit while everybody kind of, pops in.
Thank you, Sock.
Gets settled in. Hello, Blair. If y'all are here, give us a sign of your presence in the chat. Feel free to say hello. Feel free to say whatever you want in the chat, and if I deem it unacceptable, I will delete it. So you don't even have to worry about it. I'll do it for you. So we're talking about aliens tonight. Maybe we're not. I don't know. We're going to wing it. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm not prepared. I hate when this happens. It's crazy how much work I have to do for these streams to make them nice and pleasant and workable. And I just didn't get it done this week. It just didn't happen. So I'm very ill prepared tonight. This may be a total catastrophe. And I hate that because this is such a cool story. So if you saw I forget if did I put the description in? I don't think I even put the description in yet. So I actually found this case a number of years ago because of a friend and a colleague, Kyle Lovern. He's also a ufologist. And back in the day, we had like a little ufology group that we're trying to start up, and it ended up not really going anywhere. At least like I didn't get to partake in it. I don't know like if they ever got it off the ground. But I think my friend Junebug, he's kind of like he's keeping the dream alive, and he's doing a lot of cool ufology stuff. So somewhere out there our hopes and dreams have manifested in some way or another. But anyway, getting back, I'm going to ramble a lot tonight because it's just been one of those days where my brain is like pooped. And so be prepared for rambling. And if you don't like rambling, I really don't know what to tell you. But
If you
so
don't like rambling, you have come to the wrong place, because even when we are on script, we still go off script, and it's
I mean,
great.
yeah, like on a good day, I can avoid the rambling a little bit, but yeah, no, it's probably going to be a rambling night. But so this story is a Kentucky story, and that's awesome because Kentucky has a lot of high strangeness, and I like to talk about that. In recent times, I've been focusing more on Kentucky paranormal related stuff instead of just like paranormal stuff from all over the world. And so this story kind of came back up for me recently. And I made a couple of videos about it. And I was like, this story is too big and there's too much of it to condense it into a couple of short TikTok videos. I need to do like a full on live stream. And so I have like I know the original story because of Kyle, but once I got to digging around a little bit, I found out pretty quickly that this story is much bigger than I knew to begin with. So I don't know how well I'm going to do trying to wing it, being ill prepared as I am, unfortunately. Hopefully, I do it justice. And if any of the family members or anyone involved in this story sees this and I do a shitty job, I apologize in advance. Hopefully, I do it justice. Also, having said that, if anybody involved in this or related to this case sees this, it would be really cool to talk to you. So feel free to email me.
Yes, please get in touch. That would be amazing. The
Yeah,
story is incredible.
it is. It really is. And I had a lot of people in the comments of the two videos that I already made about this telling me that they knew some of the people involved personally. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And actually, this event happened not too far from me, I don't think. I think it's pretty close. I probably should have Googled that because now I'm wondering, like, yeah. I know Lancaster. I know it's not very far away. So I think, I think Stanford is not that far away. But so anyway, see that we have some people. I guess we'll get started. Real quick before we do, did anybody see Jupiter last night? Sock, I know you spend a lot of time out in the wilderness. Did you by any chance get to see Jupiter? And even better, did you get to see Jupiter through like binoculars or a telescope or anything? It was super bright. I don't know. I haven't looked tonight to see what it looks like. I was actually just talking about this a minute ago. I was like, I guess maybe after its big finale last night, it packed its shit and left. It got on out of here. We probably won't see it for a while, but for
It
quite a
said
while, it's been
deuces,
really bright.
bitches.
Yeah, it went out for a pack of Luckies and never came back.
Exactly.
Jupiter, come back, Jupiter. I don't know. Let me just get loaded up on caffeine and nicotine real quick. so, yeah. No, you didn't see it. Oh, you know, if I'd have thought about it, I probably could have got some binoculars last minute. Totally forgot. Actually, I don't know if I knew. There's a guy that I follow online, and he does like telescope videos, and he's like, "Oh, you can totally see this if you got a good pair of binoculars. You'll be able to see like the stripes of Jupiter." And so I don't know if that's true. I don't remember if I knew that before or after it was too late, but Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it. I got to see some videos of it, which was pretty cool. And then also, in case you guys aren't aware, NASA blew up a giant space rock in space yesterday, and that was kind of exciting, kind of a big deal, I guess. Pretty exciting, I think.
I think it's always exciting whenever something blows up.
I know. Yeah, NASA's out there in space like Michael Baying it up, blowing shit up. They should have let Michael Bay do it, actually. He could have done it better, probably.
Possibly.
I'm
I'm sitting here, I'm
super,
thinking, Ridley Scott, he's awfully good with outer space. Do we want xenomorphs and predators or?
oh, yeah, looking for it now. It may not be visible now, and that's what I was kind of wondering because I haven't looked outside since it got dark. I've been holed up in my cave, so I don't know if you can even see Jupiter right now, or like maybe it just totally, like I said, went out for a pack of cigarettes and didn't come back. But we'll see it again someday, I'm sure. And Saturn too. Saturn was like a little bright spot up there for a while, so I don't know what's going on with it, but
Saturn is my favorite planet to watch from the NASA website.
yeah,
It is really cool, the stuff that happens there.
Saturn is super cool. I always thought it was weird, like how the storm on Jupiter is like way bigger than our whole ass planet.
Right.
That if that doesn't give you an existential crisis, I don't know what will.
And it never really seems to move. It's just like in one place.
Yeah, it just sits there in one place. It don't go
Mhm.
anywhere. Yeah, the sky is going to start clearing up quite a bit, as cold weather comes on. This time of the year and winter is the best time, for stargazing and stuff like that because it's, no humidity, no haze, no fog, uh, lots of aliens. Did you guys see? No, I did not hear about that.
Me either.
May have to Google that because I haven't heard of it. It's interesting though. I'll put that up on the screen for people watching the replay because that is really cool. All right, so let's talk about some Kentucky aliens. So, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Kentucky's full of aliens. We have all sorts of alien activity. We always have and probably always will. I always kind of felt like Kentucky, I don't know, draws in the aliens or something. I don't know if they're coming here for a natural reason.
Definitely draws in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Bigfoot, Dogman, all kinds of things in Kentucky.
Yeah, we've got it going on for sure when it comes to the high strangeness. And a lot of people have theorized like ley lines and stuff like that. And I don't know. I have no idea what the explanation is, but I hear people say sometimes, like, this state or that state is like a super duper haunted, super paranormal state. And it's like none of them have anything on Kentucky. So I always heard growing up that it was like kind of a cursed place. But I don't think Kentucky's cursed. I think we got maybe some bad juju here and there, but I don't think it's cursed. But we have our fair share of UFO and alien stories, and most people probably know like the Hawkinsville / Little Green Men of Kelly, Kentucky story. That one's a big one, internationally known. My sister actually and my brother both used to live down around Hawkinsville. That's a cool paranormal place. That whole area is pretty spooky. And then we have like the Pikeville Goblins, which we've talked about here before on the channel. And oh gosh, and then like not alien related. Have you ever heard of the Spotsville monster, Rebecca?
I have.
Yeah, that one I'm thinking about doing a video on soon because that's a really cool story that I never got around to talking about and always planned to.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, it's
That
a cool
would.
story. The Spotsville monster. I think it's because we have like, I think it's basically like our geography. Like there's not, Kentucky is not like a densely populated place. We have a lot of wooded areas. And it, as opposed to like some of the western states where there's like lots of wide open areas, but they're flat and they don't really have like, they don't have good hiding places. I think that's one of the big things too. Kentucky has plenty of hiding places because we have lots of nooks and crannies.
What kind of ground do you have there? I mean, do you have a lot of limestone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of
quartz.
Probably. I mean, I'm not real sure. I know we do have a lot of limestone because there's like a lot of old limestone quarries and stuff like that. And
I will always believe that certain rocks, certain crystals, like quartz especially, can retain energy.
yeah, that's an age old. I hate to say belief, but like I don't know, that's like a pretty prominent belief in the paranormal community is like limestone, especially somehow, some way propagates paranormal activity, and I don't know how or why, but I think that there's something to that.
Well, they use quartz in watches
Mm-hmm.
because it does hold energy.
Yeah.
So the limestone, I used to know the ins and outs of why limestone was so important in paranormal locations, but my brain is just not working right now, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, that's I've always been interested in that theory, and I would like to hear, people from the scientific community kind of like, you know, get into the paranormal community a little bit and discuss possible theories for stuff like that because I think that there definitely could be something. There could be
It
something.
definitely plays into the stone tape theory for sure.
Right. Yes, the Spotsville monster is a Bigfoot. Tomb Raider skull, like Indiana Jones too, with the crystal skulls. All right, so let's talk about Mona Stafford. Mona Stafford's 36th birthday was a night she'd never forget. Parts of it, at least, because remembering some of it would require regressive hypnosis. What a banger. What a banger I wrote. What an intro, guys. Let me just say I'm proud of that one. So, our story tonight starts in January. It's January 6, 1976. And Mona Stafford had gone out to celebrate with her two friends, Louise Smith and Elaine Thomas. They went out to dinner at the Redwood, just south of Lancaster, Kentucky. And I've got some pictures I wanted to pull up, but there's like a weird problem with like screen sharing pictures right now. I don't know. So unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to show you the pictures, but I do have like some cool pictures to go along with this. So maybe I'll do like an edited version of the stream later and put the pictures in and show them to you. So they went out to this little diner, which is actually not that far from where I live, I think, called the Redwood. And it should be noted also at this point that they were not drunk. Let's just get that out of the way because I know that somebody out there is going to be like, they probably had too much to drink. No, they were not drunk. At around 11:15 p.m., they exited the diner and got into Louise's 67 Chevy Nova. They hadn't traveled too far on Highway 78 when the three women spotted a strange red light in the sky. At first, Mona thought the light was a burning plane barreling toward the ground. It seemed to also be headed straight for them. Frightened by the mysterious light, Mona told Louise to speed up, but the Nova was already doing over 80 miles per hour. At this point, Louise picked up her feet and motioned to the pedals and said, "I'm not touching it." The steering wheel was locked, the pedals unresponsive, the car was careening through the dark on the narrow, winding highway, and Louise had lost all control of it. Now, if you've ever been to Kentucky, you know what a terrifying, terrifying thought this is. because our roads in Kentucky, and I can only imagine in 1976 they were even worse, but when you get out on these little lost highways out in the middle of nowhere in the dark, and there's nothing but pitch black darkness on both sides of you, and cow pastures and cliffs, because Kentucky is a very mountainous place. The sheer idea of being out of control of a speeding vehicle on a road like that makes my blood run cold. If you've never been to Kentucky, maybe that won't hit quite the same, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about. So meanwhile, this mysterious light was coming closer to him, right? And then that's when the women realized that it wasn't like a regular airplane or anything they were familiar with. Instead, they were able to finally see that it was a metallic gray disc, and on top of it was a dome that shone red. Its underside was yellow, and around the center was a band of intermittently strobing red lights. So this is actually really similar to so many UFOs, like even UFOs that I've seen generally fit this description. Maybe the lights are different or something, but they all seem to kind of have the same basic, not really shape, but I don't know, like the same concept, I guess you could say, to the way that they look and the way that they behave, and most of them will have like the lights around the center. I don't know why. Who was it? The guy who claimed to have reverse engineered a UFO back in the 70s, Bob Lazar. I think, people like him have theorized throughout the years, like that these lights have something to do with how they propel themselves, and the changing colors also factor into it. So it's interesting, and I want to bring up cases because this case reminds me of a lot of other cases, especially the ones that we've had here in Kentucky. If you guys remember, I did a video earlier this year, I'm not sure when, but I did a video on the Moorhead Screaming Woman. If you haven't watched that video, you definitely should. First of all, because my makeup looked fabulous. I did a photo shoot that day with my makeup, so I looked extremely strange and unusual, just the way I like it. But mostly because the story is amazing. To me, that's one of the coolest UFO stories that I know of in Kentucky. And it's not a very well-known story. It's not nationally known like, say, the Hawkinsville Little Green Men. But the one that happened in Moorhead, the reason that I kind of like connect these two as similar is the description of the UFO and the behavior of it. And it goes along with a lot of other UFO incidents as well, but you have the light on the top, the light on the bottom, and then the light in the center. And a lot of UFO cases I've noticed report similar light and color changes as the UFO maneuvers. Give me just one second. So I kind of feel like the lights, the more intense the lights get, the different maneuvers that you get from a UFO. I don't know. I've never driven a UFO, so how would I know? But it just seems like from all of the reports that I know of, for the most part, the lighter the light, like the lighter in color or like temperature, the slower or maybe slower it goes, or maybe it's stopped. But as the light temperature changes, it seems like that's when the UFO becomes more active. And that is kind of prominent in this story as well. It's just something interesting that I thought I'd point out. So just to reiterate that, in case that was confusing, the top of the UFO had a dome. They were able to see a dome, and it was red. The underneath of it was yellow, and then there was a band of red lights around the center. So all of a sudden, right in the middle of them speeding down this highway in the dark, in the middle of the night, the Nova just stopped. And the women sat helplessly in the car watching this craft close in on them. One of them recalled being able to see indications of like a farm behind them. So, like, there was a barn, a fence, possibly a pasture. Now, I want to note something right here that I think is worth noting. In the research that I did about this story, there's like several versions of what happened here. And I tried to go with what seemed the most logical. Now, there's a version of this where I read that Louise actually slammed the brakes on at this point. At some point, she slammed the brakes on and stopped the car herself. But predominantly, all of the sources say that the car stopped on its own. So I don't know, but I just want to throw that out there. There's also another variation where I read that Louise actually got out of the car at one point. But a lot of times with paranormal stories like this, it's like a game of telephone, and sometimes not everything makes perfect sense, and sometimes things are told inaccurately, thus a game of telephone. So, but I wanted to like note that, and there probably will be several other places where the story maybe deviates from the exact specific details of the truth. And that's another reason I'd like to talk to somebody who, was involved had like first or second hand involvement in this case, because there's a lot of things I'd like to ask about. And that being one of them, like, did Louise get out of the car? Because I read in one place she did. So they're stopped, right? They're stopped in the middle of nowhere in the darkness. They think there's a barn behind them. They're not really sure. Then all of a sudden, this blinding blue light shoots out from the underneath of the craft and kind of focuses on the Nova. The entire cab of the car fills up with light, and I think it was Louise who described like a fog or haze, which is very consistent with a lot of UFO reports. And I want to talk about that here in a second. They then experience like a bumping sensation as if something had hit the car or they had hit something with the car. Despite that not really being feasible at that moment in time, there was like a bumping sensation. And then the car started to move backwards. So all three of the women, they're stuck in the car. There's nothing they can do. This is all kind of happening really fast. They all started feeling this burning sensation all over their body. Their heads started to throb, and then everything went dark. Mona, Louise, and Elaine, all three blacked out at roughly the same time. Hey, Jeffrey. So, the haze and the fog that's mentioned here, I think, is super interesting. And this is one of the things that, like, I'm always curious about, like, very specific details, which is why I went kind of on that tangent for a minute. I like to know really specific details about UFO abduction cases, because I think the devil's in the details a lot of times with this type of stuff, because it's something that not a lot of people talk about. But I think that the fog or the haze that people experience during these UFO encounters is some type of gas. I think it's something that they use to intentionally knock people out. Now, I had an experience many, many years ago, way back in the early to mid 2000s. I think I made a video about it. I'm not entirely sure what year this would have been, but I had a really weird UFO, potentially UFO encounter, and there was a lot of fog involved in this story. And I always wonder, like, when I think about this incident, one of the images that pop into my head that I can't help but kind of dwell on is the sight of all of that fog. And it was so weird. It was like horror movie fog. It didn't even look like real fog, and it was like a blanket unfurling towards me. So I wonder, like, I don't know. It's just something that I think about. I just wanted to throw it out there. Let's see what is going on. So, Whew, God, my throat is raw. I went to the dentist today and they put like some weird crust stuff on my teeth, like whatever, I don't know, some kind of dental liquid. And it burned the back of my throat really bad. I'm having trouble talking. Yeah, my throat is roasted. Yes, I absolutely was, Sock. I was outside by myself. Um, oh, it's interesting, Jeffrey. I mean, I don't know about London fog. It looked like smoke machine or like fog machine fog, like for a movie. It didn't look real. It looked controlled and like very precise. And I saw it coming from a distance, and it was very weird, very very weird. And of course, in the moment, I just assumed that it was, just fog. But then I lost hours. I lost hours of time, like a lot of time. And I have no idea. I have no idea what happened. I'm not saying I got abducted, but I'm not saying I got abducted by aliens. So now the 70s were a big time for aliens and alien abductions and stuff like that. Lots of alien sightings. Uh, you know, honestly, really a crazy time for it. And I'm dying to go on a soapbox about something I heard the other day, but I'm trying really hard not to. But I keep thinking it and I want to say it, but it's going to derail me if I do. Maybe at the end of the show, maybe I'll kind of talk about it. But I was just out of curiosity the other day, kind of looking into some of the other UFO sightings, or really close encounters and or abduction cases from the 70s, especially like the early to mid 70s. And so many of them are really quite similar. They're similar in like the chain of events and the outcomes and stuff like that. This case in particular reminds me a lot of the Cash Landrum case. I don't know if you guys remember, but I think in like, what was it, like probably 2017, I did a live stream like this one on the Cash Landrum case. And I love that story. That's one of, like probably one of the spookiest UFO stories that I know of. I mean, well, that's kind of hard to say because there's so many, but it's definitely up there in the top 10, at least. But the Cash Landrum case actually was in 1980, but it was Betty Cash and Vicki Landrum, and Vicki's 7-year-old grandson Colby was there too. They were driving home to Dayton, Texas, in kind of similar circumstances to this particular case that we're talking about. Just an isolated country highway, dense woods all around, that kind of situation. And they saw a light through the treetops, and they continued to see this light until it came down over top of their car in the road. And at that point, they were able to tell that it was like a ginormous diamond-shaped aircraft, and there was fire flying out of the bottom of it. And then shortly thereafter, they realized that it was being tailed by at least 23 military aircraft. But the heat that came from this diamond-shaped craft, because it was just blowing fire out everywhere, which honestly kind of made me think that maybe it was damage. Maybe it had already taken some damage from these military aircraft. But the fire that it was blowing out, the immense heat was so immense, in fact, that it burned the car. The hood, I think it was like Betty who said that the hood was so hot, that she couldn't even touch it. Like she burned her hand or something on it just by brushing up against the car. And then, like, they were burned, Betty and Vicky. They were both like, they had a lot of really weird symptoms, which would be consistent with radiation poisoning, not to mention just general burning from the heat as well. Um, Socket's so weird. It's weird that you say that. Did you watch the video that I made about that? I don't know if it's still up. I've taken a lot of old videos down so that I could redo them because some of them were pretty shitty. But hot stick or voltmeter and scanner. Yeah, it's really weird that you say that because actually, yeah, I did use a magnet. Well, I had my mom do it at the time. Um, and yeah, I had a magnetic spot in my back, which was really weird. Really, really weird because I had a bruise. See, I don't want to get like too much off topic. A metal detector, yeah, that would look really cool, wouldn't it? Like scan my body with a metal detector. Now this was like, oh my god, like what, 20 years ago at this point, probably. It's been a really long time. Well, maybe not 20, but maybe close to it. Um, I had a really weird mark on my back after that fog incident, and it was magnetic, but I mean, it wasn't after a few days. It went away. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. Like I said, I'm not saying I got abducted by aliens. But who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But it's just weird that you mentioned that song. That kind of like threw me for a loop there for a second. So yeah, this story, it's very similar to the Cash Landrum incident, and I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was such an interesting. I mean, it's like Kentucky's version of the Cash Landrum, or maybe the Cash Landrum case is Texas's version of the Stanford abduction. That probably makes more sense. And then the Betty and Barney Hill case, it's pretty similar to that.
That case is always going to be intriguing to me.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
For many, many reasons. And I fully believe them when they say that they were abducted, that they saw the spaceship, that they were abducted, and everything. I believe every word they said.
What did you think about the Zeta Reticuli part of the story?
I really don't know about that part. You have people that have had similar things happen where they saw different galaxy systems. I don't know.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Betty and Barney Hill case, the part where I don't know how to put this without it like coming out wrong. Okay, so like first of all, you have to understand that I'm never like 100% in anything. Like I never
Right.
fully believe anything 100%. And when it comes to like alien cases, I want to believe every single alien case, even if it's against my better judgment, and even if I know it sounds like a load of crap. Not saying that the Betty and Barney Hill case is crap, not by any means. I fully believe that they experience what they experience. But for me, it's harder. Like, I can suspend my disbelief for the abduction aspect of the story. But when it comes to the part where she says that they were taken to Zeta Reticuli,
Right.
then I'm like, but were you though? Like, because would you have lived? I don't know. And I just find that part kind of hard to believe. And it just makes me wonder, like, maybe it's possible that somehow the aliens got their wires crossed and they accidentally put information in her brain that they weren't supposed to.
I mean, that's possible.
And maybe that's where she got it from. Because it is super strange that, you know, as the story goes, like, she was able to recreate a star map that was highly accurate and highly detailed of basically the galaxy and the solar system and stuff from this particular star. So, like, she knew what the sky looked like from this particular location. It's not even possible at all that she could have been there, by human means, obviously, because it's like 39 light years from Earth. The Zeta Reticuli is. But I just kind of wonder, like, maybe she accidentally absorbed information in her brain that she wasn't supposed to have. Maybe that's the answer.
It's possible, and we may never even know.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where you have to take this leap of faith and either believe what they say or believe that they got that information in some way.
Yeah.
But if you listen to the tapes where they're discussing things, they are weeping, they are scared, they're very emotional.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing to study if you've never gotten a chance to study it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jeffrey, she claimed that they actually went to the Zeta Reticuli, and that's how she was, able to draw the map, is because she, had her memories from seeing all of that from that particular location. Yeah, I mean, well, and I guess that's kind of what I do, is because I've had so many weird experiences that there's no explanation for, that it's like I kind of have to do this, because I may not know what is going on or what the answer is, but I know that there is something, because I've seen too many things for there to not be. So yeah, that's exactly what you do, really, is start a podcast and be a weirdo for life. I mean, that's my whole life right there. But yeah, I don't know. The Betty and Barney Hill case is super weird. And you were saying, like, faith, though, and faith is something that I definitely try to avoid, especially when it comes to the paranormal. I try not to ever just have faith that what they're saying is true. Like, I like to see that there's some evidence, at least a little evidence here or there, that kind of backs up the case or the incident. And then, like, if we know for sure, like, there's a big thing that happens in this story with Mona Stafford that backs up her story. So you don't really have to have much faith if you are willing to take a whole bunch of people's word for what they saw. I mean, I don't know if that's really the same thing as faith. Like, we listen to witnesses all the time in court and we believe them. So I feel like if a person can be a witness in court, then a person can just as easily be a witness to paranormal happenings and things like that. But yeah, so just wanted to kind of go off on a little side note there and kind of throw out a few other cases. And then I think the Pascagoula, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that the right way, the Pascagoula incident was pretty similar too, in terms of the UFO description, I think. Yeah, I think you do have to have, you got to have some kind of motivation. Anybody would probably have to. Of course, I grew up with a lot of people around me who had had experiences, and Kentucky being as paranormal and weird as it is, that kind of got me started chasing the unknown. And then having experiences led me the rest of the way. That was my driving factor. There's a couple of other cases, like little mini cases, that I want to mention. Hopefully I can remember to do that before the end of the stream, because I found a really cool, short, quick, concise story about a UFO abduction that I wanted to mention. So maybe we'll get time for that later. All right, so back to the Mona Stafford story. For Mona and her friends, their next conscious memory was the three of them in the Nova continuing on their way home. Now, again, we have a little bit of conflicting information here. One of the sources that I read said that when the next conscious memory that they were able to recall was the three of them sitting in the Nova, and the Nova was parked on the side of the highway. And then they took off from there. And I know a lot of people who have had an experience like that, and I tend to think that that's probably what happened here. But a lot of the other sources say that the next thing they remembered was actually just driving. Did you watch Nope yet? Oh, I wanted to go to the theater and watch that because it's still playing. I don't know how long it's been out, but it was still playing like a week or two ago. And I didn't get to go see it because I had too much crap to do. But no, I want to see that really bad. Really, 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 really bad. If it's still playing in the theater, I might try to go see it this week or something because I really want to see it. And that's the same guy that made the movie about the doppelganger family, isn't it? That was kind of a wild movie. Really different and unique. I thought I liked the how it was different and unique because I'm so tired of Hollywood's recycled crap. I like, some of the new, fresh ideas that are coming into Hollywood right now.
He did Annabellum as well, I believe, which is also another horror movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one either.
I can't remember his name. I know he was in Kenan and Kel. Which one was he, though? I don't know.
Oh, no, Key and Peele.
Who? What? Yeah. I don't know.
Key and Peele. Yeah.
I never can remember names. I can't.
Now, those are the guys from Nickelodeon. It was Key and Peele. Is his name Jordan Peele? Jordan?
That sounds familiar. I have no idea.
I don't know names. I'm so bad.
I'm terrible with names.
Yeah, I'm awful with them, so I don't even try anymore. Key and Peele. Was it? Am I right? Is that what? I don't know. It's just ignore me. I can't remember names, and it's been a hard day.
I'm gonna mute again.
All right. So, barring the potential confusion with like, did they come to sitting in a still, motionless, stationary vehicle, or was the vehicle moving? I'm not sure. I wish I knew. I'm going to guess that they were probably parked because like I said, I've heard that happening to people. So I feel like that's probably the likeliest of scenarios. So they took off. They made it back to Louise's house. The three of them went inside. They were confused. They were all in pain. They were just feeling like, like something's really wrong. They obviously, anybody in that situation probably wouldn't really know what to do. Another thing that I read was that one of the reasons, because I wondered this myself, is like, well, why did they go to her house and then like just stop there? Why didn't they want to go home immediately, like each of them individually? They had this is going to sound silly and like a random detail, but they were all experiencing excessive thirst, which I guess is a potential side effect of radiation poisoning. I'm not entirely sure, but so they were all extremely thirsty. And one of the reasons they went into Louise's house, as I understand it, again, could be off on the details a little bit, was because they were dying for water. So they wanted to go in and get something to drink. When they got in, they realized there was like a clock on Louise's wall in the kitchen, and they realized that it was 1:20 a.m. They had left the diner 2 hours prior, despite it only being a 35-mile trip. So it should have took them about 45 minutes. It took them like 2 hours to make this trip. So that's another thing that they were like, okay, something definitely happened, because there's no way that if we left at like right after 11, we should not have got home at 1:20. We should have been here a long time ago. So the time is very important in this situation because the math ain't mathin', okay? The women then decided that maybe they ought to call the police. So they call the cops. The cops, of course, were no help. But I'm guessing that the cops are probably the ones who suggested they call the Navy recruiting station. There was like a local Navy recruiter. And from everything I read, all of the sources kind of made it seem like they just were calling willy-nilly different places. But I think what most likely happened is when they called the police were like, well, we don't know what to tell you about a UFO, but you can call the military, try the Navy depot or whatever it is, recruiter, and maybe they can help you. So they did. They called the Navy recruiting station, and they were not able to help them either. So, as you would expect, there was this whole thing with like, is this a prank call? Are you guys serious? So they weren't really making much headway here because probably the police thought, could have been like a prank call or something anyway. And that's another reason I think that the police is probably who told them to call the Navy, because if you're a cop and you got that call and you thought that it was like a prank call, you might be like, well, if you're really serious, call the military. Don't call us. Just my conjecture there, but I think that's probably how it went. Okay, yeah, Jordan Peele. I'm so bad with names. Holy cow. Sometimes I can't even remember my own name. I don't know. It's weird getting old, guys. It's really weird. It's a weird experience. I'll tell you that.
It definitely is weird. I never in my life ever would have expected that life would be like it is right now.
I know what you mean.
And I really regret all those years that I thought, man, I wish I was grown up. No, I don't wish I want to go back there.
I know, right? To be a child again and have joints that work. Oh.
But I would want to go back and I'd want to have all the knowledge that I have now.
Yeah.
And know that my body is going to take this weird twist and turn along the way and get it sorted sooner.
Yeah, exactly. Jeffrey says I still look 30. Well, good for you, Jeffrey.
Well, I think I still look like I'm in my 30s.
I'm just hoping that a vampire comes along and offers me their eternal gift.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
If that happens, you need to let them know to come my way next.
They give it to me, and then I'll come and bring it to you, and then
we'll have the inside scoop on all the supernatural stuff ever.
Exactly. We'll run through the woods on moonlit nights and wait for Dogman to come out so that we can suck his blood.
Leave the evidence in the middle of town square.
Yeah.
We told you.
I would be the most dangerous vampire ever, by the way. I would be the worst. It would be fantastic. Eric Northman would have nothing on me.
Oh, I love Eric Northman.
Eric Northman. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a subject that could derail the entire live stream, so I'm not going to go any further.
I think you're absolutely right, Sock. And I really feel like, yeah, there's definitely something to the fog. It's strange. Like the experience I had with it, and like I said, I don't know. I've never made up my mind on what I think happened to me. I feel like, I don't know, I continually deny it, like, oh, there's probably an explanation for it. But yeah, I think that's like bingo. I still look like I did in high school. Well, you must have really good genetics, Jeffrey, and some of us are just not that lucky. We're just not that lucky. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Now, I don't know for sure if I've ever actually seen an ET. I feel like maybe I have. I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence about that. I've seen a lot of UFOs, but I don't know for sure. I wouldn't say for sure that I think I've seen an actual ET. I buy a really good foundation, Jeffrey. That's the whole secret to it. I'm gonna get Botox though. Like I just want to just like do the whole celebrity like thing and just not be able to move my face and not get it.
Botox can actually help your migraines.
I know, and I tried to talk my doctor into it. I was like, "What about Botox? Can we talk about Botox?" And she's like, "We'll get to that. I mean, Botox might be an option." And then we didn't get to that. So I was a little disappointed, to say the least.
Well, I mean, they give you like 15 shots in your scalp. That sounds painful.
I've
But
heard that you can get them in your wrinkles though, and they'll it kind of like doubles as cosmetic because they
really,
actually put it in. I don't know. I mean, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I just know what my mother-in-law has said about how the Botox really helped her migraines.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that it is a big life changing treatment for migraines, but I don't know. I would just like to have it in my crow's feet. So, getting back to the story, so they called the cops. The cops didn't help them. They called the Navy. The Navy didn't help them. They were terrified, confused. The physical illness that they had acquired from this incident was getting worse all the time. Then there was like a surge of strangeness that the women had never known before, because they had pretty normal country lives, and then all of a sudden there's all these weird things happening in their daily lives after this weird event that they didn't understand. So like in the following days, weeks, months, things just kept getting weirder. All of them suffered greatly, not only with like physical ailments, but with mental ailments as well. And they also had like weird things happening around their house. But as far as like the physical stuff, one of the things that must have been the most prominent, because it's mentioned so many times throughout all of the different sources who have talked about this story, is the eye inflammation. Extreme eye inflammation, swelling, of course. Well, that's a synonym for inflammation, redness, watering, agonizing headaches. Um, Louise, and this kind of goes along with the whole thing about like, did she or did she not get out of the car at some point, and would it have mattered either way? Because, if they were abducted, I'm sure the aliens did the real probing behind closed doors, but Louise actually had a $50 sized mark, I don't know if it was like a blister or like a scar type mark or like a bruise type mark. There's not a lot of details on the actual physical spot, but she had a marking on the back of her neck. Um, the way I understand it, maybe kind of like a scar type mark. And I don't think that it faded very quickly. I think it was there for quite some time. So, if it was just like a regular bruise or like a scratch or something minor, it wouldn't have hung around for that long, I don't think. So then, like, as far as like other weirdness and stuff goes, one of the things that was really quite spooky about this is like Louise had a pet parakeet that when they came into the house at night, she immediately noticed that her bird didn't want anything to do with her. It was like fearful of her all of a sudden. And I guess over time, not just, like they come in the house and they're obviously distracted and stressed out. She probably wasn't paying that much attention to the bird. But over time, she figured out that this bird would not come near her. Like if she went near it, it was terrified. It would flee into the corner of its cage and like flap its wings and make a lot of noises. It was really scared of her, didn't want anything to do with her. What I think is interesting and really sad, because I love birds, is, and I don't know if like this is just me theorizing, because I don't know if anybody has put this out as a potential explanation, but the bird actually died like 2 months after this happened. So it could have been, causation, I can never say the other one, correlation. I always want to say like correlation, causation, correlation. We don't know why the bird died, but I think it's interesting that the bird was terrified of her, and then all of a sudden it died within the time frame of these these activities. And then later on down the road, as part of the testing that they did on these women, um, because of this incident, because of this part of the story, they actually brought other birds and introduced them to Louise, and they all had the exact same reaction to her. So the birds were potentially sensing something about her. I don't know if it was like physical illness or maybe radiation. My mind always goes to radiation after like a UFO incident. And I don't know, like I wanted to mention this earlier, and this is a little bit of a side tangent, but I was actually talking about this the other day with somebody, and it's like, do UFOs utilize some type of radioactive nuclear power, or did they, years ago? Maybe they don't now, because their technology is probably also changing and evolving just like ours. Of course, they're leagues ahead of us. But maybe if they don't utilize nuclear power, and then therefore, their crafts kind of put off detrimental radiation, because so many humans who've had interactions with them suffer from radiation symptoms. Maybe it's just the simple fact that they travel through outer space, and there's a lot of radiation in outer space, and it absorbs onto the craft. And then they radiate us. I don't know. Just want to throw that out there. A little theory I have that I've thought about a few times. Let me see what's crackling in the comments. Oh, God, my throat, guys, is killing me. That stuff was wicked. But hopefully it makes my teeth nice and white and whatever it's supposed to do. Not good for your throat, though. Make a video about it. Yeah, for sure. Can we get a cat check? If I let them in the computer room, all hell will break loose. They will destroy everything in here. Maybe I might go catch one here in a minute and show it.
There was a cat check while we were doing pre-show, and whoever it was being mouthy.
Really?
Yeah. You were talking to Matt in the background.
Oh.
Probably about needing a fan.
Yeah, probably Bean. Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, he's like a sassy little queen, and he just like struts in here like, I'm just gonna come in and there's nothing you can do about it, and then we have to catch him. But like he goes behind the green screen, and I don't know. You would have to see it. It's like the funniest thing ever. That cat is awful, absolutely awful. But I might show you all some cats later. Maybe, possibly. No promises though, because I think they're asleep now. Let's see. I keep trying to read this and I keep getting distracted. Ancient species of humans that left the earth thousands of years ago. Or they came from someplace else and then came here and dropped us off and then continued on their way. That's kind of like what I like to think. But yeah, totally. I mean, who knows, So on top of all of this sickness and all of this, like they're having brain fog. I remember reading that they were struggling to even do their jobs at work. I think one of them worked at like the county extension office, I think. Let me check. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it was Louise. Louise worked at the Casey County Extension office. And apparently, like, she was having a lot of trouble just focusing on her work. And, like, if you've ever had legitimate brain fog, you know that it's very difficult to do anything when you have brain fog. And then, like, there was the whole inflammation of the eyes, the headaches, migraines, and just like a plethora of health problems. But then there was also like weird stuff like Louisa's watch malfunctioned, like totally random weird detail, but her watch malfunctioned. And it was just like, I don't know, kind of like it was magnetized or something, and it just kept spinning loosely, and it wouldn't stay on the track. And you know, which again is something that could very well be like maybe she like accidentally smacked her arm into a wall as she was walking through the house and broke it, or maybe it was aliens. Her car also malfunctioned after this incident. She had trouble with her headlights and her signals going out frequently, so like an electrical problem. And that's a really common thing that people report after they've had a UFO encounter. And I made a video not too long ago about, I guess I probably shouldn't say the name. There's a cemetery that we did a paranormal investigation at years ago. Very paranormally active. It's also very active with ufological stuff, like just unexplainable lights in the sky and things like that. But we had got reports about, like, to the ghost hunting website, we'd had reports of people driving on this road out by the cemetery and this church, and their car just dying in the middle of the road. And like, you know, big flashes of light, and then their car would shut down, and you know, it's always like an electrical issue. And then there are other cases where I've heard of that same thing happening, and it seems to kind of go along with UFO activity. Finding ancient cities under the ocean. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, God knows what's under the ocean. We haven't explored much of the ocean. We're going to find some cool shit down there one of these days if we ever.
Becca's not exploring anything in the ocean. They can explore that all themselves, and I don't want to know what they find.
Yeah, no, we ain't going to have nothing to do with it because water's scary.
Water is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Mariana Trench, there's probably some shit down there. I don't want to think about it because that is like nightmare hell for me.
I know, like for real. Terrifying. I'm so afraid of the ocean. It's crazy. I don't know if I popped that up on the screen yet, but that is really interesting. I want to throw that up there. Yeah, it really is. Honestly, it really is. And I mean, if you think about it, like it, despite what they're, you know, like what power source they use, it still could just be the simple fact that, you know, if those aircraft travel through space, which we know that there's like high levels of radiation in space. Actually, there was something came out in the news not too long ago about how astronauts, they had accidentally radiated astronauts. Have you heard about that, Rebecca?
No, I hadn't heard anything about that, but I mean, space is full of radiation. Every star that's out there, every sun, it all puts off radiation.
Yep. So we've cooked our astronauts, unfortunately.
That's not good.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible. So a minute ago, you mentioned something about the red light thing because we're talking before the show about the James Webb telescope and about infrared light and movement and stuff like that. And they're probably not going to know what we're talking about. But to answer your question, Rebecca, I don't know if really those two things are on the same track because, I mean, it could be. But
it's possible. It's just something that popped into my head.
Yeah, I'll have to do some thinking on that because yeah, it could be. I have heard of a lot of USO incidents. Let me Google that one real quick and put it.
I haven't heard of that.
That is interesting. I'm gonna have to like look into this because super interesting. USO stories are they're hard to. Okay, so first of all, like not everybody, like everybody gets to see the sky, right? But not everybody gets to see the ocean or like really big lakes. So USO stories are kind of hard to nail down and really talk about and discuss in detail or in depth because usually like we see USO cases coming from like military and stuff like that, and it's just I don't know. It seems like when we get cases that are like a military reports, they're always lacking a lot. It's like I don't know, like somebody went there and cleaned them up to make sure there wasn't a whole lot of detail or something. I don't know. But there are a lot of good USO stories out there, which is obviously like an identified submerged object. And I remember back in the late 80s and early 90s, a lot of the UFO stuff that I was really into, like shows and books and stuff like that, talked a lot about submerged objects and people seeing things come from, from underneath the water or things going into the water. And so there are a lot of theories out there about how, um, like there could be underwater bases and stuff like that. It's something to think about. Definitely something to think about. So now, interestingly enough, the next turn of events in this story, the Navy, and I feel like this is just such a Kentucky thing to do. I don't know, it may not make sense to you if you're not from Kentucky, but the Navy actually told the news media in Lexington, honestly, it's just such a gossipy thing that instead of like helping these women, maybe sending someone, a military representative out to talk to them, they call like the Lexington News. So that was kind of like where the story really started to take off quite a bit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do all this tonight, though. Like, my throat is killing me from going to the dentist and getting that stuff on my teeth.
Are you referring to me, Jay Riddle? Do I have a channel? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's what they're asking.
I'm a part of this channel. I don't have my own YouTube channel. I do stream on Twitch, but this is about Paranormally Correct, so.
Yeah, the Twitch channel is for gaming, so if you like gaming and stuff like that, you might be interested in it. I don't know if it'll let you put a link in the chat, but you can try to put one in there, Rebecca, and if it doesn't show up, I'll try to fix it. Because sometimes it filters them out even if I try to put them in there, so I don't know. But yeah, I don't think you don't do anything like paranormal there, right?
No, not yet, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually I might.
Yeah. See if it shows up. Usually it will let me know at least, and then that way I can approve it, I think.
Okay. Well, I popped it up through YouTube.
I don't see it. Send it to me in the private chat.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, and let me post it because yeah.
There you go.
Copy. Let's see if I can post it. Does anybody see that?
Yeah, I see it.
I think it's weird that I have the option to put my own account in timeout or block myself on here. Maybe sometime I'll try that and like block myself and see what happens.
make sure Matt's around with the
I mean,
ban hammer. Make sure he can unban you.
It is what it is. Like if I banned myself from my own channel, then it was God's will.
That is very funny.
It was God's will that I got banned from my own channel. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea sometimes. I get a little bit spatty in the comment section from time to time.
Well, you remember you were reading tarot cards that one night and somebody came in just to tell us we were all going to hell?
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I'm pretty sure it's a Russian bot. And I say that because that is happening on every social media platform all of the time. Like, you're almost guaranteed, like, if you have an active chat on anything, even if it's like an Instagram picture, you're almost guaranteed to get one of those. And I'm pretty sure they're bots. And it's like, it's so friggin' obnoxious because, like, you can't really even argue with them because they just keep saying bot things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you're going to come and troll me with your religion, then at least argue with me so I feel some type of like closure and satisfaction from the interaction, you know? But
Yeah,
no,
make it worth your while.
they don't even afford me that liberty. It's frustrating. So yeah, the Navy told the news and it got out to the public. Now, did I cover all of? Yeah, okay. So we got through all of the brain fog and the work duties, and they all experienced excessive weight loss too, which again is another symptom of radiation. I believe. I'm not an expert, obviously, so what do I know? But I think it is based on what I can Google. So the Navy told the news. The news broke the story to the public. I had some pictures of like news clippings and stuff like that, but I'm not going to be able to show them to you. I might put them in an edited version of this video if I make one, because there are some really cool pictures and drawings and stuff that the women made. So because the news put the story out, it got a lot of attention all of a sudden, and there were a lot of people from like the ufology community jumped on board and became really interested in this because of how well documented this case is, and because there were actually, it turned out there were other witnesses, but we'll get to that. So one of the people who got like wanted to get involved and wanted to meet the women and talk to them was a MUFON investigator named Jerry Black, and he wanted to work with them, like to get all the pertinent details and stuff like that, and interview them and basically document it for MUFON. Because if you know anything about MUFON, they keep a pretty extensive database of information of UFO incidents and case reports and things like that. I actually used to be a member of MUFON. Why is my chat glitching out? Okay, here we go. And you get like a little handbook. It's actually a big, thick handbook if you were to print it. And you get like case reports. And their case report forms are extensive. Like, it's a lot. There's a lot of things on those forms. But I guess that's a good thing because they get really detailed interviews because of them. So Jerry Black gets involved. He wants to talk to him. They were reluctant to talk to him, as you would probably expect. They weren't well. I'm not sure what month this was in. Hang on just a second. They were still pretty sick for several months. So what initially happened was, like, he wanted to come out and meet them personally and interview them a little bit. He also wanted to bring Peggy Schnell of Blanchester, Ohio, with him, just kind of like as an assistant. And also he thought, maybe if he brought a female with him, then the other females would feel more comfortable, because like this is back in the day when males and females couldn't intermingle freely, I guess. I don't know. A little bit of a sexist gesture, but maybe also a little thoughtful at the same time. I don't know. But that's what it says. He wanted to bring Peggy with him because he thought that they would feel more comfortable. But when they came out to talk to him, they were still sick. They weren't really filling up to any type of in-depth research, because what he wanted to do was like kind of subject them to testing, essentially, to see what was going on with them because of all of these health problems and stuff. And after so many months, the health problems still hadn't gone away. So kind of weird. And I've wondered, like, are there any doctor records? I mean, would they put that out to the public? I have no idea if they would or not. Um, but when he got there and talked to them, they were not well. So he decided to postpone. And also, they were kind of intimidated by, like, having the story out to, people that they knew nearby as well. Like, and then the story was also picking up a lot of momentum to where it kind of seemed like maybe it was going to go national. Maybe they were going to get way more attention than they kind of initially assumed that they would. And also keep in mind, it wasn't really their decision to put this story out to the public in the first place. And if you guys remember my Bigfoot sighting from a few years ago, I kind of had this experience as well. So I definitely sympathize with them, because it's one thing to have an encounter that blows your mind, but to then go to an organization for guidance or advice or information, or to even just give them a report, and then the next thing you know, it ends up in the news. That's like a whole other level of crazy that most people are not prepared for.
And not only did it end up in the news, it ended up being picked up by coast to coast. And
Right.
yeah, they're not as reputable as they maybe once were, but
yeah, coast
yeah, I
to coast.
remember when that all happened.
Yeah, so they were pretty hesitant to really go much further with this guy. So he postponed, he put it off. I'm not really positive about the time frame here. I wish I was. But at some point in time, more witnesses came forward. The three women didn't really even know about this at the time, but there were quite a few other people that night saw this whole incident from different areas around town. So that night, was it January 6th, I think, at about 11:30, there was a couple. I think they must have like contacted the police or something, but they reported a large luminous object flying over their house, or it went, passed over their house at least once. I don't know if it was going back and forth. That would be kind of funny. But okay, seriously though, like, they saw an object fly over their house. There was also a couple of teenage kids who were driving. They were on the road that night. They saw the disc object. They, of course, didn't know what it was, but they saw a disc that was emitting red-orange light. Then there were several other people reported to, like, so there were like a bunch of calls came into the local police department, reported that they saw like a reddish orange light in the sky that night. And these are from different points around town and around the area. So these reports are kind of coming from everywhere at this point. One of the most interesting, though, the farmer nearby. So, like, remember when they were being abducted, they were able to recognize, because of the light from the ship, I guess, that they were close to a farm, because they were able to see like a barn and a pasture and all, like a fence and everything. So apparently there was a farmer nearby that particular farm, and I don't know if it was his farm or a neighboring farm, but he saw a low-flying disc-shaped object just down the road, he said, from his farm. So he came out and he watched it, and I guess he probably couldn't see Mona and her friends Nova, but he did see the beam of light come out of the UFO and hit the ground. So apparently it was a pretty bright light. Like, he was able to see it kind of like cast a little bit. But he apparently saw them get abducted and didn't even really know that it was happening. He just, just saw a light and like some other lights, but he saw them get abducted essentially. So all of these reports that came in the interim of, a plot that's developing with Mona and her friends here, corroborate their story. And this is the reason that, this case is kind of considered one of the best documented UFO cases of all time, is because there were so many witnesses, and, all of these witness reports kind of mostly were fielded by the police. So you would think too that maybe like the police would have taken it more seriously. Like, why didn't they take it more seriously when Mona and her friends called? I don't know. Um, Maybe they thought it was all like a bunch of prank calls or something. Maybe that's why they thought it was a prank call, is because they'd got so many calls about it that night. That would make sense, actually. Yeah, Sock, that's like the worst part about it is, you don't realize, like, just to go off on a little tangent here, one of the things that really, really bothered me tremendously about my Bigfoot incident that happened a few years ago was, like, it was in local news and stuff. And so I was able to see people that I knew from my hometown making fun of whoever saw the Bigfoot in Elliott County, people that I've known my whole life. And they're all like making a big joke out of like this Bigfoot report that the Lexington Herald put out, though they had absolutely no business doing so. Just to be a little sassy and a little direct about it, they had absolutely no reason to do that, but they did it, so whatever. But yeah, people I've known my whole life were like making fun of me, and they didn't even know it was me that reported it. And that was a trip. That was a really bad feeling. I didn't like that. Not one little bit. I was straight up not having a good time, bro. Yeah, I mean, and who knows? Like, cops probably get, back in the day, prank calls. Like, I don't know if prank calling is a thing nowadays because we live in a digital world where everything's extremely traceable and anonymity doesn't really exist anymore. But back in the day, before caller ID, you could prank call anybody, and there's really not a whole lot anybody could do about it. You know, I mean, it was really hard to catch somebody making harassing phone calls to you. So, like, even if you were calling like the police department, what are they gonna do about it?
Was it the Jerky Boys that they made
Yeah,
albums out of prank calling people whenever we were growing up?
yeah, yeah. They were notorious for prank calls. I mean, prank calling, like, that's how I spent most of my teenage years on Friday night, was like making prank calls. I actually made most of my high school friends, which I didn't go to high school with, but most of my friends in high school were people I met during prank calls and just ended up being friends with. Prank calling was a way of life at one point in time, but young folks wouldn't know anything about that. um, Tom eats everything we build. That is very poetic. I'll put it on the screen. Um, so let's see, where were we at? So yeah, all these people saw, and it freaks me out that the farmer saw them get abducted. That blows my damn mind. But I mean, because a lot of people witness UFOs and stuff, but not a lot of people witness abductions as they're happening, right? So that's pretty crazy. um let's see here. Let's see. So yeah, we talked about the birds. We talked about the. So what do you think about this case, Rebecca? At this point, what are your thoughts on it?
It's definitely interesting. When I first um, started researching it last week, I noticed that these were good, God-fearing people. that you wouldn't expect them to come up with some kind of fanciful story in order to make themselves, look important in any way.
Right.
And like you said, they never once tried to really draw attention to what they had witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it kind of blew my mind that I had never even heard of this until you introduced me to it. Because this is one of those things that, yeah, I truly believe their story.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty amazing case.
I can't wait to look into it deeper.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that, since some people did come forward in the comments of my videos and say that they knew these people, like Mona and her husband, which I wasn't even sure. Like, I think the other two friends, I think they've passed away now. I wasn't sure if Mona was still living, but I think based on context clues, I think she might be. So, like, I'm hoping that maybe I'll hear something from them, Maybe
that
one
would
of
be
them.
very cool.
Yeah,
That would be very cool.
It definitely would be. So I'm going to pull up a video. I think it'd be kind of cool to just share the news report video. Pop that up here.
UFOs, a hot topic that always sparks plenty of debate.
This morning, we are going to introduce you to 3 Central Kentucky women who claim to have experienced an extraordinary event 35 years ago, an event that is one of the best documented UFO cases in the world.
For weeks now, there have been reports of UFO sightings.
Flashback to the 1970s, unidentified flying objects.
One newspaper put a sketch of a supposed extraterrestrial visitor on the front page. Gulfport police have received so many calls that they've posted a nighttime watch.
It's what people across the country were talking about then. And in one small Kentucky town, it's what people are still talking about. Documented in the local newspapers. We want to see what people saw in 1976. Many people said they saw something one winter night in Lincoln County, but Mona Stafford is the only woman left to say she experienced it.
Oh, it's the most scariest, terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
January 6, 1976 in Stanford. Mona Stafford was turning 36. Mona, along with Louise Smith and Elaine Thomas, planned a simple celebration. Labeled by UFO researchers as possibly the most fact-rooted abduction case on record, the incident begins here at what was once Redwood Restaurant.
Everything was going on a different direction from where I started.
Past 11, the birthday party was over. With Louise driving the Chevy Nova, the 3 women headed down Route 78, a narrow, winding road under a cold, clear sky.
I just seen this light coming down.
An intense red glow heading toward their car, inching closer and closer, until Mona says the object stopped and hovered next to the right side of the car. She says it was a bluish-white dome.
I said, Lou, step on the gas, let's get out of here. And I looked down, I said, man, you're going 85 miles an hour. She just picked her feet up and said, Mona, I'm not touching it, not touching the pedal.
And it's here the women say that their car finally stopped after going nearly 85 miles per hour. But the car didn't stop entirely. In fact, they say it backed up, heading towards a very dark area, an unknown farm to all 3 of the women. What happened after that forever is written in UFO history.
It pulled us up. That light just pulled us, sucked us up in it.
These drawings describe what each woman says happened next. For Louise, the gray-hooded masked creatures kept her arms from moving. For Elaine, her throat throbbing from something around her neck. For Mona, she lay on a table being observed. All 3 women say they were burned.
Went to my family doctor, and that's when he said, yes, I've had serious radiation.
Their story was the talk of the town and eventually the talk of UFO researchers. Seeking an explanation, the women decided they'd only share it with a psychologist. someone to help explain this strange event. To help unravel this mystery, the National Enquirer arranged for psychologist Leo Sprinkle to investigate the abduction story. Regressive hypnosis at the Brown Motel in Casey County took the women back to the strange darkness. A Lexington police detective gave Mona, Louise, and Elaine polygraph tests. After the session, everyone involved found the women to be truthful.
It's in my eyes when I close my eyes.
While the hypnosis helped the women, it did not explain why they could not fit the unexplained experience in their natural lives. Over the years, Mona Stafford wanted to talk about what happened, but Elaine and Louise didn't like to. And when they passed away, Mona was left to ponder alone.
Did you see that? That light, it's blinding me. I can't see anything.
35 years later, Danville-based playwright Elizabeth Orndorff is talking about the women's story. High Strangeness is a lighthearted tale fit for an audience.
We're lucky that she shared it with us instead of keeping it to herself.
Mona Stafford, Louise Smith, Elaine Thomas, 3 ordinary women with an extraordinary experience. An experience decades later, seemingly without an answer.
I know what it is, but I just want to know.
Super interesting. I just wanted to show that since I didn't get to show the pictures and stuff. So I know I always like to have faces to go with names and, things like that. So I wanted to pop that up there real quick, and also want to go grab a Dr. Pepper and get time to do it. So like they said in the video, they did undergo like a lie detector. And I know there's like all this controversy about lie detector tests and whether or not they work. And I personally don't know that I put faith in lie detector tests, but I do feel like, when I watch videos of Mona talk about this, she seems really sincere to me. And I know that's not technically proof of anything, but I'm pretty slick about people. I catch a lot of things that other people don't, I think. And she seems pretty genuine. And I know that her 2 friends were, consistently hesitant to talk to anybody about it. In fact, I think the 3rd friend, because if you notice, we talked a lot about Mona and about Louise, but the other one, what was her name? I forgot. Elaine. Elaine didn't really ever talk much at all publicly. Her to cheat a polygraph test. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that. Like, I've heard so many things about polygraph tests. I don't know. I've heard people say like, oh, they don't prove anything and they're easy to pass. And other people are like, no, they're pretty solid. So I don't know. Take it for, what you want, I guess. But so like they did that test. They also did the past life not past life regression, but the hypnosis regression. And you saw in that video, there were like some drawings and stuff. Those are some of the drawings I wanted to show you of what they experienced. And their memories that they were able to pull out are really consistent with like a lot of similar cases. I think I've got some cases written down here. Let's see. I feel like the Pascagoula incident, the Travis Walton abduction,
The Travis Walton abduction, that's another one that I have studied
yeah,
and
that's a good one.
truly don't know what to make of it.
Yeah. And like all of these cases, and there's, numerous other cases as well, they all experience the same thing that Mona and her friends experienced, which was like, from the time they were abducted, they experienced basically like what sounds like sleep paralysis, where they're not able to move, and then like where they're put onto these weird tables and there are no physical restraints, but they're still not able to move. And most, if not all, abductees say that they experience communicating with the extraterrestrials, but it's not verbal communication. So, most likely telepathic communication. All of these things are consistent with so many other abduction cases and, present in this case as well. One of the things I wanted to read to you, Mona gave in a report. She said, describing an eye exam while she was, being held captive by these creatures. She said, I could see a light at the end of a tunnel, which looked like a volcano with a jagged edge. At this point, she described this part with a lot of painful emotion, just like they've been pulled out. And it's very cryptic and kind of hard to understand what she's talking about. But I think what she probably was seeing is some type of technology. And then she goes on to talk about these two eyes that were looking at her. And keep in mind, she was under hypnosis when all of this is kind of stream of consciousness coming out verbally. But she's talking about these two eyes that she could remember seeing, and they were like a beautiful blue. And they were kind of encircled by blue membranous lids, kind of like turtle eyes. So I don't know if at this point she was describing the entities or a technology that they used. But Louise, apparently she had trouble recalling the entities, what she saw as far as the extraterrestrials, because she was so afraid of them. She said that she closed her eyes to have to, to keep from having to see them. But she did describe them, as little humanoid creatures. And I think it was even in one of the drawings. She said that their hands look like jagged wingtips, whatever that means. That could be interpreted a lot of ways. Elaine apparently recalled more about the ETs than the other two women did. And she said that there were several small figures, and they were all about 4 feet tall. So quite small, which is consistent with little grays. So I would love to I don't know if there's recordings of these regression sessions that they did with them, but I would love to be able to hear it, because, when you're researching this kind of stuff and you're only getting text highlights, you don't really get the full picture. And I hate that. I hate trying to reiterate it and retell this part of every story, because I feel like I don't have a good grasp on it, so I can't give you all a good grasp on it. But I'm gonna manifest that somebody will email me about this case and tell me details that I could share, and maybe even get to hear some recordings of the regression sessions, because I think that would be amazing.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm gonna manifest it. I really want it to happen. Yeah, so it was just really crazy, just totally nuts, wacky, wild and crazy. I believe that's about it. I might do a write-up about it. I feel like, there's still more information, but it's so much that I can't squeeze it in, because we're coming up on 2 hours.
That occurred to me whenever I started looking into it. I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff out here. And it's not all the videos that you find on YouTube. They all introduce just a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much. Just so much to it, and so many just small details that actually have more bearing than you might expect them to on the story. And it's just a crazy, deep alien story.
Definitely encourage all of the viewers to go and look this up and for yourself. It's very interesting.
Or you could just wait until I write a story about it and put it on ParanormallyCorrect.com, because I really want to do that, because I feel like that's the best probably method to, combine it all. because there's so much research. It's so scattered everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sock, they weren't humans. I mean, well, that's one thing I feel like you kind of always have to wonder about is all of the UFO encounters and abduction stories and things like that that are out there. Is it possible that it could be some government on Earth doing all of it? Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely not impossible. Is it probable?
I mean, MK Ultra.
So
that really happened.
Yeah, MK Ultra is one of the only true conspiracy theories, although it has been blown out of proportion, and some of the
yes,
details
it
have
has.
been misconstrued.
But they also did the men who stare at goats. I mean, that truly happened. As ridiculous as it sounds.
So a year ago, I probably would have told you, like, yeah, I think that aliens, if the Bible is to be believed, then maybe aliens are angels and demons and everything in between. But I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea anymore. I think aliens are just aliens. I think, was it like before the stream where we're talking about the James Webb is showing us how vast and unbelievably, unimaginably enormous the universe is outside of our planet. And at this point, it would be stupid to think that we're the only living thing in all of that space.
I mean, yeah, we would really be stupid not to.
I mean, yeah, like, why would we think we're the only thing in all of this space? There has to be other stuff out there. And I just feel like, personally, I feel like we were, maybe these aliens seeded this planet with us so that we could evolve from, single cell organisms in primordial soup and then eventually walk on land. And, here we are at this point in our civilization. They're probably like billions of years ahead of us as far as like, development and evolution and technology and intelligence and all that. And so they, they're ahead of us, but maybe they are us. Maybe that's our origin. And I just think that it's entirely possible. It just seems really possible to me. To eat us, they might, maybe it was to eat us. No, maybe it's just to propagate their species. Maybe we're all the same species, maybe they're just like us or we're just like them. And they just wanted to like test out some different planets and be like, hey, let's put some primordial soup on this little blue marble and see what happens. And poof, we evolved because the little blue marble gave us the right components to evolve and to exist. And, that's just kind of what I feel like happened.
We could be a petri dish for these things, like bacteria, mold.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, or we could just be like, if you think about our bodies and stuff on a cellular level and how like we have microbes and germs and like bacterias and like, there's like a whole system just on our skin, not even in our bodies, but on our skin. And we are kind of that same thing on the face of the earth. And the earth is kind of that thing in the context of the entire universe. So it's like, maybe we're just a series of germs. And
so it's like a big Inception plot.
Yeah, it's definitely very much like an Inception type of thing. So who knows? And I don't know if the other thing earlier doesn't give you an existential crisis, then maybe this one will. We are just germs on a rock that's floating through a giant universe of other rocks that are much larger and more important,
Yeah. We are the ghetto of the universe, I promise you.
Definitely the Florida. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe they just don't give a shit about us anymore. Maybe they just dropped us off here and it's just like, poof, we're gone. We're going on to the next planet, the next phase of our operation. You know? It's a lot to think about. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I think I might do like write up a story about this and try to include as much research as I can from every single source. And
That
then,
really would be awesome.
yeah. And you know, make it kind of like a story so that it's enjoyable to read and not just like a UFO report, you know, like a lot of the sources are. And I actually was thinking about trying to get back involved with MUFON again so that I could get into their database and read the original reports of this.
I've thought about doing MUFON as well.
Yeah, I used to be a part of MUFON, but at the time, I wasn't really sure like what the benefits of being part of MUFON were, and I really wish I had looked more into their case files because you have access to their cases if you're a member. So, Sock, are you saying that you're convinced they're going to eat us? I mean, I guess we have it coming, don't we? If we do that to other animals, then it's only fair.
I don't know.
It's only fair.
I'm definitely not going to go down without a fight when they come to take me to the butcher shop.
They can eat me. I don't care. I don't care. Put some ranch on my ass and gobble me up. I don't care. Somebody should clip that too. And like, somebody should make like a Sarah fan page and a Rebecca fan page and just like clip the weird shit we say. And just,
we do say some really strange shit.
Can someone please do that? Like, like that last bit, that was pure gold. Somebody clip it. Oh my gosh. We're too toxic to eat. Yeah. I believe it. I believe that for sure.
You need only look to Twitter to see that.
Well, I mean, but we're probably also contaminated.
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah. The meat is bad.
Oh, I know I am. Chemotherapy has poisoned my body. They don't want it anymore.
Yeah, see, I mean, we've all got, like, we're eating Cheetos and drinking Mountain Dew and taking medicines and, like, yeah, nobody wants to eat us. So, Sock, that should bring you a little bit of comfort. We're not edible. Not anymore. Yeah, we're toxic on every level.
Yes,
so,
every level.
Not just biophysically. We're literally toxic. We are proverbially toxic.
Proverbially?
I don't know. It's been a hard day. Sometimes I make up words by accident when I have hard days.
That's funny.
So I mentioned that I had like kind of a cool little short story that I accidentally found on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading about the, oh God, what case was it? It was the abduction of pilot Frederick Valentic. I don't know how you say his name, but it was in 1978, and he was a pilot, and he got abducted by aliens right out of the sky. Australian pilot who was abducted mid-flight from his Cessna. He was radioing back and forth, and he was telling them that he had eyes on basically what was a UFO, like he was describing a UFO. And ground control heard like a metallic scraping noise and then radio silence, and he vanished out of the air. Him and his plane both vanished, and nobody ever saw him again. And that kind of led me down this path of like,
This is the guy that was flying to Tasmania.
I think so, yeah.
And they have like the transcript of his last flight.
Yeah, I believe that's it.
I've always wondered if maybe he got disoriented and got turned upside down and went in the water. But it's really, that story is interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a really weird one. And I guess it's entirely possible he could have just crashed somewhere. They looked for him though.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they knew where he was roughly, and they looked for him. But to my understanding, they never found any evidence of where he went.
They didn't find a single piece of his plane.
Yeah, which is weird. I mean, and like, I don't know if he was over water, but I mean, if he was over water, then yeah, but you would think they would be like, well, that explains it. Like, he went in the ocean. That's why we're not going to be able to find him.
If it's the one that I am thinking of, and I do believe it is, he was flying from Australia to Tasmania.
Mm-hmm.
So he was over that little stretch of water that's between both islands.
Yeah. I wonder how big a stretch of water that is, though, if it's really, you know what I mean? Like, is it enough to where they couldn't have found any trace? Because, I mean, I'm just coming from a place where I thought, like, when it comes to stuff like this, they really go all out to find and recover, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they couldn't. I don't know.
I don't know. I've seen people try to debunk it with other things, and I'm left without any factual evidence to follow. The guy disappeared. They never found him. Some people said that he faked the whole thing to disappear. And if he did, more power to him, it worked. But if not, it leaves some questions that need answering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of cases, you know, maybe not to the same extent, but like, you know, cases where people go missing in these types of circumstances, and you kind of just think like, well, you know, there's an awful lot of variables at play here that could explain the situation. And obviously it seems a little bit ridiculous to a lot of people to jump to the conclusion that it was aliens. But I don't know. I mean, I would think that because he was telling them basically that he had eyes on a UFO leading up to his disappearance, then that could only really mean that either he faked the whole thing and was lying about it, or it was aliens. You know, because it's not like he was radioing back and forth like, everything's great, I'm having a great time, bro.
He was saying to ground control, there's something flying above me. Do you have any planes in the area? And they'd come back with, no, we have nothing on radar. Mm-hmm. And he said, it's moving faster than I am. And then, like you said, you hear a metallic sound, and then there's nothing. That's the last they heard from him.
Yeah. That's super weird.
It is very weird.
Sock, the thing about it is like, I think that what people consider little grays or tall grays or whatever, I think those are like spacesuits. I've always kind of felt like they're astronaut suits, you know, because I mean, we send astronauts to space and they look like an astronaut, right? Or like a cosmonaut, you know, whatever country sends them, they obviously have a certain look to them, right? So like, what if somewhere out there is, you know, something less advanced than us that somehow has seen our astronauts, and they're like, every time we see these things, they're big and puffy and white and they have shiny round heads, you know? So it could just be their suits, honestly.
That is a good point.
That's just what I've always thought about it, though. Just my own personal conjecture. I always felt like the eyes just really, it's giving helmet vibes, you know? The big black eyes, the big,
Yeah.
and that would explain why they don't have like facial features like noses or mouths or whatever. It could just be that their masks are just that way. So okay, but having said all that about that guy that disappeared with his airplane, with the whole ass Cessna just vanished into thin air, I found a story from a random user in the comment section where people were talking about that story. That's what I actually really wanted to get to. And I wanted to read this to you all because I thought this was a really neat, super short story. And this came from a user named Nat Ash. And they said, I'm going to put this here. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure I want to know. But back in the late 80s, 88 or 89, I'm not sure when, I was a sea cadet on the FFG Lewis B. Puller. Anybody that wants to can Google that and see what you can find. It was a 2-week stint where we learned about Navy life and did minor jobs on board ship. One night I was on watch port side. I think it was I lost my place. I think it was a balls to fore, but again, I don't know what that means. But again, it was a long time ago. I saw a light in the sky and began calling the contact in. Before I could finish calling it in, it swooped down over the water and the light intensified. It was this real bright, electric, weird light. You could almost feel it hum. That line caught my attention. I'll tell you why in a minute. I swear I could see large plates or scales made of metal on this thing. There was no noise, just a crap ton of wind. I stood there frozen like a deer in headlights. I wasn't afraid. I was more stunned than anything. I couldn't even think to move. Then it flew away. I reported the contact. Here's where it gets weird. Immediately after I reported the contact, I was escorted into the XO's quarters. He demanded to know where I was for the last hour. They had searched the ship under general quarters and began man overboard procedures. I was told the contact was a low flying satellite, and I was ordered to report to the medical bay for a physical examination. I don't want to know what happened during that missing hour, but I will tell you this. You ever see anything like that, run, hide, do whatever you have to do, but get as far away from it as you can. I have believed in aliens ever since. He got abducted.
That is an interesting story.
I mean, here's the thing, like, you know, I'm all for evidence and trying to be subjective about things and try to like find the truth in things because I know human memory is infallible. Human understanding and perception is like, well, not infallible, rather. And we make mistakes and we misunderstand things. And I know that, you know, it's very easy to say like, oh, there's nothing exists and nothing, you know, out. I mean, I think it makes more sense that aliens, extraterrestrials, and things of that sort exist than to say that ghosts exist or that, I don't know, the Loch Ness Monster exists or whatever. Like, of all the things in the paranormal world, aliens make the most scientific sense, I think. But when you see people reporting things like this, and they have been for decades upon decades, how do you perpetually deny these types of reports? Like, this person had no motivation to put this story on a random website comment section. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like they didn't use their real name. They weren't like, oh, by the way, come check out my YouTube channel or buy my mixtape. They're just trying to put a story out there that they experienced this thing and they, you know, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to process it. but yet people continually dismiss these types of encounters as explainable or baloney, you know?
I think the government in anything will deny until they absolutely cannot deny anymore.
Right. I mean, but it's not even just the government. It's like, the general population, which I feel like people have become a little more open, like especially the younger generation, like Gen Z, I feel like is more open to extraterrestrial possibilities than previous generations. But, I still encounter people all the time doing this type of stuff who just think this is the biggest joke in the world. It's like, well, we have evidence going back hundreds, if not like thousands of years that kind of show that, even early humans experience these types of creatures, these types of like flying craft. We have paintings from the 14, 15, and 1600s that show UFOs. We have cave drawings that depict UFOs. We have thousands and thousands and maybe even millions of people who have encounters like this random person from the internet has this encounter. What is their motivation or their benefit to lie about something like that? Um, yeah, you definitely better let us know, Sock. Definitely. If you get abducted, we want to know. But yeah, I guess really all I'm saying is that, like, I just feel like there's so much pushback still, as much as we've learned just from the James Webb about space and about how vast it is. There's still people out there who think that this is completely impossible. And I just feel like we need to move past that. It's clearly possible. Totally possible.
Agreed.
I love aliens, goddammit, and they're real. Okay? That's what I'm saying.
I've only gotten into researching things since knowing you. I always just kind of believed in them, but
Yeah.
I think the first time you told me your close encounter, it was just blew my mind. I'd love to have something like that happen.
I mean, I think I'm paranormal just like naturally, and I think that's how I've come across a lot of things. But I've always been looking for it too. I think it knows if you're looking for it.
Well, I mean, your stomach can diagnose whether an area has demons or not.
My demonic radar, yeah.
Yeah.
It's never failed me, so
that still makes me laugh.
I know, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm not saying that it works, and I'm not saying that it works. I don't know. But I guess that is it for tonight, guys. I don't know if I did this story justice. The story is crazy, and it is one of the deepest UFO rabbit holes I've ever gone down. And I'm going to keep digging, though. I feel like there's more for me to learn about this case. And if anybody's interested, I'll keep talking about it. I'll just keep talking about it forever. Because a lot of UFO cases, like, there's a limited amount of information out there in the world, and it's easy to acquire and put together. And that's it. But this one seems to continually have more information. The more you look, the more you find. So, I don't know.
This one, Betty and Barney Hill, that's definitely worth looking into. And if you don't know about the fire in the sky story, it's really something you should watch.
Yeah.
Look up, read about it. It's weird. Very weird.
Yeah. The Travis Walton case is a terrifying case. I've always wanted to talk to him, and that's something that I've never got to do, but it's on my bucket list. I think he's still alive, isn't he?
He is, and he's still talking about it. So, I mean, if you reached out, he might.
Yeah, he might. I might do that. I don't know. Sock, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Very glad.
I thank all of you for your patience with me being ill lately. I really do appreciate it. One of these days I might feel like a human again.
I know it seems like I don't know, like a dream to feel normal again.
Right.
I can definitely empathize, sympathize, relate. I don't know. But maybe we're all just going to get abducted. Oh, did you know the rapture was supposed to happen like 4 days ago? And I guess we got left behind.
Holy shit. Party time.
I just want to know if there's any Christians out there. How does it feel to know you got left?
I hear crickets. I don't know. I might ask my mom.
Yeah, I mean, well, and like we were all supposed to turn into zombies this past weekend too, but I'm still
I missed out on turning into a zombie. That's bullshit. That's utter bullshit.
I know, and then
I'm halfway there already.
We didn't get raptured right out of our sneakers, out of our kids.
Can you imagine if somebody got turned into a zombie and as they died, their spirit became a ghost, and now this ghost is just walking around going, Greg, you were a lawyer in real life. Come on.
That would be confusing yet awesome.
That would be hilarious as a movie.
And then it gets raptured, but then it gets sent back on like a holy mission from God.
Right. I want Ryan Reynolds to play the main part.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be great.
Yeah. I feel like Melissa McCarthy could probably play God.
Oh, that's great.
We need to like pitch this to Hollywood.
Straight up. I'll get my black book contacts and we could start that process.
Oh no, this actually didn't come from TikTok. I think I mean people on TikTok are talking about it, but people on Instagram are talking about it too. It came from, where did it come from initially?
I don't know. I hadn't heard anything about it. But of course, I'm a recluse. I don't watch the news. I don't want people coming to visit me. I don't want to see people when I have to go outside. I'm good texting people on the phone, talking to people on the internet, and having just myself, my husband, our cat, and 2 dogs in the house. I'm good. I don't need the outside world.
I think this actually came from church, by the way, Joshua. That's where it came from initially, but yeah, people on social media are talking about it. So,
which church did it come from?
Whichever one believes in the rapture.
I mean, there's a lot of them that do.
Let's Google it real quick.
Maybe I should text my mom and make sure she's still here. I've talked to her in a few days.
Check on your mom. Maybe she went with them. The rapture, September. Oh, there's a whole bunch of dates. So apparently it was supposed to happen a bunch of times in the last year. Okay, here's a preacher. Here's a preacher talking about the rapture on September 25th. Yeah, so it was supposed to happen on September 25th. I thought I heard like the 24th or something, but yeah, 25th, same difference. Oh, okay. So there's actually like there's some they've got like pie charts and flow charts about it as well.
Because that makes everything real.
Yeah. Yeah, Google says Rosh Hashanah, which I don't know. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Will begin after sunset in Jerusalem on Sunday, September 25th, 2022, Jerusalem time. If you're a Christian in America, you should be very aware that the divided states of America are in a death spiral and will soon face catastrophic calamities that will weaken the nation.
Oh my God.
That's a little bit depressing, Google.
Yeah. Everybody head to Colorado. Go to the old abandoned air bases. They're inside mountains. You'll be safe there.
No, but have you also seen the Forbes map of like what's going to happen when the United States floods?
I have seen a bunch of things that have talked about, symbolism in our monuments talking about a great flood that's going to hit one of the coasts. It's going to be devastating if it ever happens.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point where just take California. We can sacrifice California.
I mean, I would say like
Keep
no.
Oregon, move Oregon in some. I've got family up, extended family up there.
Yeah.
Want to keep them alive. Washington State, take it.
I mean, I don't know.
Kidding,
There's so many things to love about all of these states, but like, it's apparently going to happen whether we like it or not. I can't find that map, but Forbes website had it, and I can't find it now.
Hey, West Coast Dogman Project. Good to see you in the chat.
Yeah, Sock, you're right about that, actually.
Very right.
Greek mythology, like all of that came from Greek mythology originally.
Yep.
I don't think it was numerology. It was coming from churches. The rapture that was supposed to happen a couple of days ago was actually coming from churches. I'm not sure which churches. I don't know anything about, like, I know that there are some denominations who believe in the rapture and some who don't, but that's like it. That's as much as I know about it, so I'm not sure. But yeah, if I run across that Forbes map, I'll send it to you. It's really scary. Like, most of the United States is underwater, and I guess, as things melt and ice caps melt and things flood and global warming continues, we're all going to own beachfront property. Kentucky, though, being up on top of a mountain, Kentucky's safe.
And what about the plains?
Pretty much split and gone. And do you know what's happening in the Middle East with the flooding? Like, it's already happening over there.
No.
Oh boy, it's bad. It's really bad. So it's very realistic and very possible and very scary, because I hate water, and I know you hate water as well.
Yep.
But anyway, guys, I believe that's all we got for tonight. We've talked about all sorts of wild and crazy shit, and got off on a rapture tangent. If anybody gets
I still haven't heard from my mom.
Anybody gets raptured this week, text me and let me know. Tell me bye. I'm going down with this ship, okay? Like, I'm staying here.
By God, if I get raptured, I'm going to demand that they return me to Odin. Because I'm not about that anymore. Take me back home.
Stamp me property of Odin and send me back.
I gotta make sure I put my Allfather hammer back on. I took it off to clean it. Put my watermark on it.
Yeah.
My Donnie. This is where you send me.
Ship me back. All right, guys. Well, it has been fun. Hopefully you learned a crazy story about aliens tonight that you'd never heard before.
And that makes you want to go and research it. Because
no, don't go research it. Just wait and read the story that I write.
Yes,
about
wait and read the fruits of Sarah's research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not going to Google it anyway. They're not going to Google it. They won't even read it probably when I top it up, but we'll try it and see how it goes. I am glad, Sock, very glad. Glad you enjoyed it. And
we're always happy to have you here, Sock.
Stay safe out in those woods and don't get abducted by aliens.
And don't get attacked or abducted by a dog man either, because that would suck. No,
I mean, unless
he has,
I mean, if it's that or the rapture, I say go with Dogman.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
We'll see you later, guys.
Night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.